There you have it, the first look at the NASCAR 21 Ignition 2022 expansion pack coming out on October 6th. It's going to be free for everybody if you already have the game, but what we're going to do in this video is we're going to break down the trailer, break down some information that we know about it based on some articles that were released, and also as well some news on a NASCAR Heat 5 2022 DLC. Now, before we begin this video, I just want to say, leave a comment down below. Tell me what you think about the trailer for the DLC, what you think of the actual 2022 expansion, and for that Heat 5 2022 DLC as well. Also hit that like button, that helps the video out and me out a ton. Smile. And also, if you can hit the subscribe button, we're on our way to 1,000 subs, and also subscribe if you want to see more motorsport content, NASCAR content, any sports content in general. That's a lot of what we upload here. Anyways, let's move on to the video. So right away, just a couple seconds into the trailer, you get the first look at Auto Club in NASCAR 21 Ignition, which obviously was not in the original release because Auto Club was not on the schedule. So with it being on the 2022 schedule, it'll be in this DLC expansion, as well as the newly reconfigured and repaved Atlanta Motor Speedway, Gateway, and also as well the old configuration of Sonoma will be back as well for the 2022 season. So essentially we have the entire regular season and playoff schedule, but the one thing that we don't have is we don't have the LA Coliseum track. Now, I'm not that surprised to see that the Coliseum is not in NASCAR 21 Ignition, but it's a little bit of a letdown. I think it would have been cool to have that in a game and be able to take these 2022 next gen stock cars around that small little track. But I think it's very good that we have at least the entirety of the actual regular season and playoff schedule, and we get the newly configured Atlanta Motor Speedway and get Auto Club back as well. And then as we keep going through the trailer, you get the first look at the next gen paint schemes as they go by. And then right here, there's going to be a shot off turn 2 at Daytona that I find pretty funny as well. They're going to show it in just a second here, as there they are, right? They're off turn 2 at Daytona, and it's just Freight Train Doe Junior Line City with Larson leading the way at a plate track. And so it looks like pretty much right now, at least for the release, is going to be all the primary paint schemes, but they will have one extra DLC, paid DLC, that's going to come out I think in a couple of months. I can't remember exactly when they said it would come out, but it'll be released with more paint schemes, but obviously everybody getting their primary right off the bat with the beginning of this DLC. And then here's the first big, really big important point. I mentioned it earlier, but I'll mention it again here. If you already own NASCAR 21 Ignition, you get the 2022 expansion for free. You don't have to pay for it. It's gonna be just a added on expansion to the game for free, no price, thankfully. So you at least get the 2022 expansion for free. But again, there's going to be a paid DLC with more paint schemes that'll come out in the coming months. I think it's like 2 months from now. I think they might have already said that release date. I'll have to check and see. Now, they did reduce the price of the game down to $20. I am not going to sit here and tell you to buy the game. I'm not going to tell you if you shouldn't buy the game. All I'm gonna do is just offer my perspective on how this DLC looks right now. I mean, obviously we can't even play it anyways, so we'll have to wait until the game until the DLC comes out to really know if the game is much better. I don't think it's going to be improved based on how the game plays from now. I think it's going to just be a new car set, new paint schemes, and a couple small little UI changes. I don't think there's going to be any major actual changes to the game itself. So that's going to be up to you and your opinion on how the game is. I'm not going to say whether you should or should not pay the $20 if you do not already own this game. But then right here, a couple seconds later, we get our first look at the actual new changes to the HUD. When I read changes to the HUD, I kind of thought that, ooh, we would maybe have a whole new brand new HUD, and it would be kind of reworked and look a little bit better. Now, this doesn't look like a bad HUD. I just kind of was expecting a whole different thing, but instead what we really got was just added on tire and fuel graphics down here at the bottom to check on the actual wear of your tires and how much fuel you have left. There still is no way to change the tire wear, the amount the tires wear, or the amount of fuel that you consume, so you can't do times 2, times 3, times 4 like you could on Heat 5, but you at least can see your tire wear and how much fuel you have in the car now. At least that's there. There's a way to indicate that now in the game. You can finally see that. About a year too late, but we can at least see that now. And then right here as well, you get a very, very brief look at the new pit stop animations for the 2022 expansion pack as well, which I would imagine they'd have to redo the entirety of the animations because it's obviously brand new pit stops with just the one lug now. So I would imagine they'd have to redo those animations, so maybe they'll be a little bit cleaner, they'll be a little bit more refined. I mean, it's just a very, very brief couple of, I mean, maybe a second in total, but we'll have to see if the animations are a little bit more refined and a bit smoother than they were the first time around. And here's a pretty good look at it as well. You can see right in the interior there is one camera up here, the actual rear view, or sorry, not camera, but there's the actual rear view mirror up here, and then they do have the camera the rear view camera in the game. So that's very cool that we get to have that. For those of you that'll use the cockpit view, you get to have the camera that they have in real life and also the actual big rear view mirror right there. And then every time I've seen them go in the in-car, though, I've seen them always in gear 4 every time. There's never been a 5th gear. So I'm curious at this point, is there going to be a 5th gear for these guys to be in? Because every time I've seen a clip of in-car, it's always been in 4th gear. Just one little small tidbit that I noticed on every single bit of interior bit they've shown in this. They've always been in gear 4. But going back to the mirrors as well, if you look right here on the exterior view back at Road America, we have 2 mirrors inside the car, but we don't get a single mirror still on the actual HUD of outside views. So anytime you use the hood view or the roof view or the behind view, anything like that, you still won't have a mirror. So they can make 2 mirrors for the cockpit, but apparently they can't put a mirror on the HUD. Still disappointing that there's obviously a 2022 NASCAR game without a mirror in it, but that's neither here or there. I'm not going to get on the whole mirror debate again. Now, right here, they mentioned additional quality of life improvements, and I think that's really all just boils down to tire wear and fuel graphic on the HUD. They said there was more streamlined main menus. That's the other part. There is a more streamlined main menu of the game to create more flow. I don't know exactly what that looks like. They have not shown screenshots of it, so I have no idea how exactly it's going to be more streamlined and flow better. They made a few quality of life improvements to the game. However, nothing really actually changing to the way the game actually plays itself. And that was it. That was the first look at the first breakdown of the first trailer for the 2022 expansion DLC. I don't know if there's going to be anything else shown about this until it actually releases on October 6th. So not too long until we have that DLC. I think it's a little over 2 weeks away, if my math is right, something like that. So not terribly long until we get to see this in NASCAR 21 Ignition for the first time. But there's still a little bit more to break down in some articles. The first thing that they talk about that I forgot to mention was that there also are going to be new intro lines of dialogue from Alex Hayden for the intro of the races. Obviously not a big deal at all. I'm not sure if there's many of us that are really going to care about that, but it's still at least a small improvement. I would assume maybe just some changes to, if I had to guess, just maybe changes for the 2022 season, different race names, maybe talking about the roster a little bit differently. So that's probably all it is. It's probably not like anything game changing at all, but just a small little change I thought I'd throw in there. But also looking a little bit further down here as well, they mentioned the price changes down to $20 from the original $60. They're also going to have the NASCAR 21 Ignition Victory Edition right here. That'll include the 2022 expansion. Obviously, that's for free. The previous 2021 season pass and the DLC content in the future season pass too. So it's still $10 cheaper than the actual version or the retail version of the game that came out for $60. And then here's something important right down here at the bottom of the article. Per the release, updates to the title will be seen across Race Now online multiplayer and the paint booth. Regarding that specific line, I asked Asterisk PR, I'm not sure how you pronounce that, PR representative, if that pertained to the 2022 NASCAR Cup Series content. The 2022 content will not be available for career mode in Ignition, was the response I received. So I think that's quite disappointing that you can't use this DLC content in career mode. You can only use it in Race Now or multiplayer. Me personally, I would not, I mean, you guys know I don't really play NASCAR 21 Ignition at all. I actually only played it for that weekend. It was free on console. However, if I owned this game and I was looking forward to the 2022 expansion, that would be extremely disappointing to not have it in career mode. You'll only be able to use it in online and in Race Now modes. That's pretty disappointing to have it only available in those 2 modes, not in career mode. But I mean, at least we're getting the 2022 DLC. We're getting the next gen cars in the game. I guess that's a silver lining. Pretty much a disappointment and a letdown if you're one of those that was hoping to play this expansion and use those 2022 cars in a career mode. Now that brings us to the end of the NASCAR 21 Ignition side of things, but we do also have some stuff for NASCAR Heat 5 to talk about. So if we head over to Twitter and we find JW Pinnell's Twitter account, I believe that's how you say his last name. If I said his last name wrong, I apologize. He is the brand manager for Motorsport Games. He tweeted about the DLC this morning and then went on to add extra information at the bottom here. Another tweet said, for those asking, the updates to NASCAR Heat 5 will come to Xbox, PlayStation, and PC. NASCAR Rivals will be our 2022 Nintendo Switch product. The updates to Heat 5 and NASCAR Heat Mobile will come out at a later date. So mobile also getting an update as well with the 2022 content. But then he goes with another tweet and says, to answer some more questions, the 2022 NASCAR Heat 5 update will be a paid DLC that will be available for $12.34. The updates to NASCAR Mobile will come as free content to in-game users. So we are getting a 2022 Heat 5 update. However, you have to pay for it. It won't be free. I think $12 for a DLC for an old game is partially whack. I think that if you're going to release a DLC for a game that is now a year old, it is an older title they released back in 2020, 2019, something like that. It's at least 2 years old, if not 3. I personally think this DLC should be free for Heat 5. However, I don't mind paying the $12, so whatever. Now at first there was a article written on this on, once again, Traxion, and you scroll down to the bottom here. They have an article about the actual release of the DLC, but then you get to right here. This is the crucial point that I read both in the release and this article, and it stated that players will be able to utilize the cars, drivers, and teams for the 2022 NASCAR Cup Series season and race now and online multiplayer in NASCAR Heat 5 as purchasable downloadable content. So once again, a bit like the article for Ignition, where it doesn't mention career mode. This time it doesn't say it's not going to be in career mode. So my assumption at first was no career mode, and that was going to be a huge letdown for this DLC, but I have gotten some clarification, and thankfully we will have this content available for NASCAR Heat 5 career mode, thankfully. So we will have the 2022 cars, drivers, and teams in career mode, race now, and online. The 2022 Cup Series tracks that will be playable in race now and online include Auto Club, Worldwide Technology Raceway, Road America, and Bristol Dirt. So basically, I think what that is saying is that we will not see those tracks in career mode for some odd reason, which none of these tracks are brand new, so maybe they are in career mode. Maybe the wording was just forgotten on this specific part to be in career mode. But you will join an existing Cup Series team in career mode, and then the update currently features a modified 2020 schedule featuring 33 events in career mode. So not the full 36 race schedule. Now I'm trying to think of what tracks, because obviously the regular schedule is 36 races long, and it's only 33 for this schedule. So I'm trying to think of what 3 races could be left out of that, and the only thing I can think of is maybe New Atlanta and Gateway. I don't really know exactly what tracks are going to be left out of the schedule. We have very little information on the actual DLC itself. The only thing that I know is that it's going to be in career mode. So it's cool that we're getting a DLC. It's very cool that we're getting a 2022 update for an older NASCAR game that obviously I think a lot of people have gone back to play since Ignition was, well, honestly, since it was so bad. A lot of people didn't like that game, and they decided to go back and play Heat 5. I mean, you can see the numbers on Steam. The Steam numbers daily are higher for Heat 5 than they are for Ignition. So it's cool that we're getting a DLC for the Heat 5 game. I'm excited for it. I can't wait to have it. It'll be really cool to have the next-gen cars on that game, especially as a game you guys know that I play a lot. We'll be doing a career mode on it now that we're getting this update. Whenever it comes out, by the way, I forgot to mention, they have stated that the DLC will come out after everything comes out for NASCAR 2021 Ignition, and I would assume also after NASCAR Rivals. So sometime towards the middle to end of October, most likely the end of October, maybe 3-4 weeks from now, will be when we get that Heat 5 DLC. So obviously it's left to announce a release date for it, but it is still cool that we're getting it. I don't like we have to pay for it. I don't like that as much. I mean, at least we're getting it. It seems like as well that we're not going to be getting any of the tracks ported over to Heat 5, so I thought we might have been, because the NASCAR Rivals is essentially a port of Heat 5 to the Switch, and that game has New Atlanta. It has Gateway is already in Heat 5, so I guess really the only new track that would have to be added in is New Atlanta, and it seems like that has not been done. We're not really getting much more than just cars for this DLC, which is a little bit unfortunate, but again, at least we're getting it. So that is the end of this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope you guys are excited for the 2 DLCs that got announced today. I know I'm excited to try out the Heat 5 DLC whenever that does happen, and obviously, like I said, we'll be looking forward to a career mode on that. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Leave a comment down below. Tell me what you think of the DLCs. What are your expectations for them? If you could hit the like button as well, that would be very appreciative. It helps me. It helps the video out a ton. And if you could hit that subscribe button as well, I would also appreciate that a lot. We're close to closing in on 500. My goal is 1,000, so we're gonna hit 1,000 sometime. I don't know when, but if you guys could help me towards that, that would be great. Anyways, have a great rest of your day, night, evening, morning, whenever you are watching. Goodbye.